So continuing from where I left off last time, I just want to also mention, well, starting from where I left off, let's start there. I left off at the fact that the queen was the true power to ancient Egypt. She came from the sky. She was a celestial being. She was a god, an alien, whatever. She wasn't human originally, and she never will be human. But she has mixed with human now, sharing children with Pharaoh, the man, stuff. So breaking it back down to what I was saying is that as this queen is building this dynasty with the pharaohs, you know it's an exchange of power. It's the queen has all the power. She has the brain, she has the sight, she has the words, she has everything. She knows everything, she can do anything. That's how she built Egypt and kept Egypt built until the pharaohs, generation after generation, more and more so often, these men were growing up, and they were the conditioning that they were taking in was leading them to forget more and more where the true power of Egypt was. They kept losing and losing sight of where the true power of Egypt was. It was in the queen and her daughters. That's where the true power of Egypt was, because that's where God truly resided. If you didn't forget your history, the pharaohs, if you ain't forget your history, you would have never forgot that the queen came from the sky. And that's how we have advantage. That's how we rule, because we got the sky girl. They started to forget that shit. Then you had female pharaohs rising up, and you had the people trying to shoot that down. Like, nah, ain't no woman pharaoh. How you gonna be like, ain't no woman pharaoh when the woman pharaoh is who made this shit? They started going sour. No disrespect to ancient Egyptian pharaohs, because those are the forefathers. That's where we come from. That's our bloodline, people. That's our bloodline. The pharaohs and the Egyptians, believe that, man. And it was the greatest dynasty that ever lived. It was the greatest dynasty that ever lived. Believe that. But I'm just speaking truth. That's all I can do right now. Is just speak truth. They started to abuse the feminine power and the feminine energy from which they came. They ain't want no female pharaohs. And I'll tell you, that ended up being the end of Egypt. That's where their true end came, when they started to misuse the power of the gift from the celestial, the queen. They started to abuse that. They started to sell children. You know what I'm saying? They started making wrong moves, bro. Like any dynasty that falls, any great dynasty that failed, that's because they started making wrong moves, and they fell out of the grace of the favor of the universe. So, moving on, getting back to that being the actual downfall of ancient Egypt, is the fact that the last female pharaoh, Cleopatra, and the most famous, everyone knows of Cleopatra, something of her. That's because she was a movie star, dude. Cleopatra was like, she was like a really big movie star. She was like Mariah Carey, or Whitney Houston, or she was like Beyonce. She was like she was big time. She's like Britney Spears, dude. She's really big time. Cleopatra was the shit, and she was a different type of queen, where or pharaoh, because they weren't called queens or kings. They was called pharaohs. So she's a different type of pharaoh, though. You know what I'm saying? She seen all this shit. She seen what Egypt had become, and she was like, man, fuck this. She was like, yo, fuck this shit. How do I know this? Just listen. She was like, fuck this shit. I ain't with this shit. Why the fuck would I stay up in this shit? Kicking my juice out over here. And these motherfuckers is doing this and that and that. What the fuck? Because it is tradition. It is how things have always been, Cleopatra. You must follow tradition. Nah, fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck tradition. Man, fuck that tradition. I ain't with it. What is tradition when it means injustice? And that's how Cleopatra was. She's a rock star, and she did what no one had even thought of fathoming, of thinking about doing or something. There's a lot of stories on what happened with Cleopatra and how she did this and how she did that. But listen, I'm gonna tell you what really happened. Alright? She bounced, skippy, dipped. Cleopatra bounced, skippy, dipped. She had Mark Antony. Mark Antony was with her on the throne. Mark Antony was with her on the throne. I'm gonna tell you something. At the time she was there, and Mark Antony was her male counterpart, and she had her son with him, she said, I ain't fucking with this shit. I'm out of here. And she bounced, skippy, dipped. On him. And she ran off with Julius Caesar. Alright? Now, there's a lot of things that history tells you, but I just told you the real juice. She bounced, skippity, dipped on Mark Antony and ancient Egypt. Mark Antony was an Italian also, and he was at the throne. This is when Rome was already in there. They already had the Romans, like it wasn't even really Egypt no more. It had become a frenzy house. Not saying nothing about the Italian kids, because Julius Caesar and both Mark Antony were both Italian kids, and Cleopatra liked them. She liked them white boys. Yeah, people be getting it fucked up. They don't be understanding true history now, because Cleopatra was the last mother pharaoh of ancient Egypt. She was the very last one. And I'm gonna tell you something. Her king was an Italian guy who she had a baby with in ancient Egypt was an Italian man, a white boy. All right? And then she bounced, skippity dipped on Egypt, and she left her son there too with his dad, and he would be the next ruler of Egypt. She left. And she ran off with the other white boy, the other Italian boy, Julius Caesar. And then Julius Caesar rose to such power that you wouldn't believe it. He rose to be freaking like a god. And Egypt fell. A lot of the Egypt kids went into slavery. Hi. Hey guys. Hi my other friends and brothers and sisters out there. We went into slavery, but I'll get to that. On my next viewing. As of right now, we're leaving off at the point where Cleopatra, the last female pharaoh, bounced, skippity dipped on her husband, Mark Anthony, and left her son there with him, and she ran off straight affair mode, straight Helen of Troy, straight Helen of Troy. She ran off with Julius Caesar. I don't care what they tell you in history. I just told you she ran off with Julius Caesar.